Welcome JPC218, Jean-Guy Public Communicator. I apologize in advance for my delay. All right, I've been busy with Dimensional Wellness 365, a lot of focus on health, which today I'm tying it all together. My political side here, my political side combined with a bit of health, right? And why the transformation. So when I talk about from alcohol to cannabinoid to nutraceutical to transformation, right? Do you see a pattern? You will, right? You will. So before I get into that, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe on Jean-Guy Public Communicator and subscribe on Dimensional Wellness 365, two different platforms. This combines everything. I could talk about anything on this one here. And on this one here, it's a focus on life and health, right? Longevity, right? Changing life, making changes in your life for longevity, right? And the reflection of those around you. It all encompasses, and the rest will follow, right? And trust me on that. So I'm going to get into this. So and I'm going to ask you to please subscribe. Click on the bell, share it with those you love and respect. All right, let's get into this. A moment ago I said, do you see a pattern? And I said, you will. Let me explain the pattern of why I'm talking about from alcohol to cannabis and nutraceutical to transformation, right? So, 40 pounders in bourbon. I used to be that guy. When I hit the 340, 350, 360, fluctuate 20 pounds in a day, the reason being, I could be the guy, like I'm a workaholic and people will know that, and I call it social business. Fridays are day 5 of 7, right? I enjoy working, but I combine lifestyle with working. I combine social, I combine everything with working. I put my meetings, I change the environment for my meetings, right? Because I do work all the time, so, but I'm that guy that I could also put away a 40 pounder, and I'm also that guy that can eat a bucket of fried chicken, not a problem with that 40 pounder, and still be ready at 5 a.m. But whether it's training, whether it's working, whether it's whatever, I used to train all the time, and people said, "Man, you're strong." I was thinking I'm strong, but I was strong, right? That's it, I was strong, and then I became fat and strong. That's what I became. So yeah, I was training all the time, but I was not internally fit. I was not internally fit. I understand that. And how did I went from fit to fat to fit. That's what I did, right? Because I knew this was within me. I knew the fit was within me, right? So here's my background, just to give you some of the disciplines that I've done. Where when I talk about, I used to be fit, right? Martial arts, I had that in my life. It's in my blood. I've been doing it all my life. Some of the best instructors out there and best teachers in the disciplines that I've learned from, right? Bodybuilding, I've always trained in bodybuilding growing up. Marathon, I've done marathons, I've done half marathon. I've taken swimming courses and people that do Ironmans and people that do marathon swimming and etc. So those are the training that I have under my belt. Aspeton instructor, hand-to-hand combat instructor, chemical munitions instructor. Like like my whole discipline is in background. Not only that, I taught for colleges. I've written platforms and curriculums for colleges, and I've also taught provincially for the government, right, for an entire province, around the province. I've done stuff across this country in speeches and talks and that kind of stuff. My credentials, trained to trainer, right? I'm certified, government certified to train to train. So I got all these credentials, and I was 222, right? And my fittest, the best of time, rip as everything, 222. And I said I was used to train before all the time, but I wasn't internally fit. 222, I was not internally fit. I understand that today, right? I brought it all the way up to 360. Sometimes like 361, 362, 363, depending on the hair, you know? So I let myself go. That's what I did, right? I call it Fat Jean-Guy. The magic number was 2016. I've done cannabinoids in my lifetime. I've done a lot of stuff in my lifetime, and I'm one of those guys that puts it right out there, right? So I've done cannabinoids in my lifetime, but I didn't do it the way I know it to be done, right? I've done a lot of things like I mentioned, but I used to get high cannabinoids. I didn't understand microdosing. I didn't understand tailored treatment plans. I did not understand the titration and so forth, because I was just getting high, right? Then I got educated, and I say here, compare yourself to a glass of wine. A glass of wine up in Canada here, it's 5 ounces. That's a standard glass. You can go to a 9 ounce or 12 ounce, depending on the spot, but the standard glass is 5 ounces. Compare a 5 ounce glass to a bottle of wine. If I drink a 5 ounce glass with my meal, or if I drink a bottle of wine with my meal, there's a difference, right? Think of that as microdosing, right? If you only do the 5 ounce and that's it, same thing with cannabinoids. That's what I learned to do. I learned to do it in small. I do not like getting high, but there's a small part of cannabinoids, depending on the cannabinoid, that your body feels great. Great for training, right? Cannabinoids, I'm telling you right now, alcohol does not tie to training. I tell you right now, there's not guys that'll be honest and say, yeah, I feel great when I train after drinking, right? Cannabinoid does. It does it with sex, it does it with training, it does it with a lot of focuses. When done properly, it really opens up everything, right? So the 2016 was my magic number. I got to understand cannabinoids. I've worked with individuals with PTSD, etc. And I've traveled across this country. People that went from 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 pills a day, right? Down to like nothing or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's what they transformed into. People that wouldn't even look at their spouses, they wouldn't even look at they wouldn't make love to their spouse, they wouldn't be with their family, they didn't want to be with their family, or they didn't want to be attached. I grew up with a father that's up and down all the time. The man was a loving soul, right? The most generous man I know and providing man I know, right? But he would get his up and down. But I understand him today, and I talked about this on PTSD. But those individuals, spouse and family and work and everything, had prison issues all the time, right? A lot of them. Then they found cannabinoid like I did in 2016. When they found cannabinoid, these things disappeared and dissipated. And here were some of the patterns of it that I noticed when I was working with them. Dyslexic mind here takes all the puzzles, puts them together. So there was a loss of weight in their pattern when they came off of the alcohol and they came off of the pills and they came off of the pharmaceuticals and replaced with cannabinoid therapy. There was a loss of weight. There was a better focus. You could tell they were focusing in a sense, even in communication in a lot of aspects. They were running clinics. They were the leads, right? The in charge, the IC. They were the leads for their units. They had a better purpose. They found better purposes. They hunted for better purposes. While no more or less, alcohol became social, if anything, social alcohol. Like I do my wine. I don't drink my bourbons. I don't drink. Do I take shots with individuals? Absolutely. Would I do a vodka and sparkling water? Absolutely. If somebody, but I have bottles everywhere at the house, but just for guests. I don't drink them. I used to polish that stuff. I don't drink it. I stick to my red wine, my dry red, zero residual sugar wine. That's what I stick to. That's what they do. That's what they did. A lot of them, they really decreased the wine. They replaced it with cannabinoid therapy. But the pattern here was the loss of weight and a better focus and a better purpose, etc. I took this. So I took my youth. That's where I took all my patterns, my use, my discipline, what I knew, what I said from fit to fat to fit, the beginning to fit. I took all this, right? I combined it with cannabinoid therapy that dissipated my alcohol, which my alcohol, it really makes it eat and junk and unhealthy compared to cannabinoids. Trust me on that if you do it properly. And then from there, I included fasting. I introduced the understanding of autophagy, how to understand it. Nutrient-dense food. The more nutrient-dense I ate, the less food I ate. The more nutrient-dense food that I ate, the less food that I ate. Let that rest down. I started eating less naturally because I was full. I was satisfying myself. So that's what started happening, right? And not only did my training, all that training that I had, but I learned how to train and I learned when to train. And when to train during your fasting, during your autophagy, etc. I understood that from research. I researched all this. I combined. But what was the pattern again? Loss of weight, better focus, better purpose, less pills, less alcohol. That's what started happening when I started applying this and this, putting it all together with cannabinoid therapy. And then nutraceuticals. What I said, alcohol, the cannabis, the nutraceuticals, the transformation. Nutraceuticals. What I started doing nutraceuticals, and I did it all my life. I did like the pea yellow all the time, right? And there's all these stories about that. But there's sometimes that you actually pea yellow because of what you're consuming, and sometimes it's you're peeing yellow because you're peeing a lot of the money. But nutraceuticals, there's some very, very great products out there. And what I went after is anti-inflammatory. Because if you look at most of your ailments out there are caused by inflammation from your dementias and Parkinson's and your diabetes and so on and so forth. Look at COVID. Look at the comorbidity. Look at the causations of COVID. All the diseases were linked to inflammation. So what did I do? I took inflammation type products. And some of those products helped me lose weight, the proper weight. Right? The visceral fats, the layers of fat. And that's what people say, where are you getting your muscles? Where are you getting your abs? You're 55. You still drink wine. You still have desserts. You still go out to restaurants. Why? Because I combined all this. And this is how I break my fast. This is stuff that I do every single day, every 24 hours. And the loss of weight, the purpose of that came from cannabinoid therapy. Right? When you look at, now we finally have it legal. Right? It should have been legal forever. It should have never been illegal. It should have never been taken away, right? It should have never been. If you go pre-1910 or pre-1930, you'll see what cannabinoids were. They were part of life. They were a medicine. They were tools. They were hemp. I don't want to get into all that, but that's the politics of it, right? That should have never been taken away, because we would have had less people in jail, less people with PTSD, less people with, right? From your Parkinson's to all those conditions that cannabinoids help with. It should have never been taken away. But if you combine it properly in titration, if you consume too much alcohol, if you eat too much greasy foods and etc., if you take too many pills and all that stuff, if you do too much of that, think of cannabinoid therapy. Just think about it. Introduce fasting into your lifestyle. You start combining those things and start understanding it, the reins, like you got a hold on those reins. And I'm telling you, you feel so incredible. You feel so incredible. So this is why today I wanted to talk about from alcohol to cannabis to nutraceutical to transformation. Because I know a lot of you out there want to transform. I know a lot of you have, whether it's a mental conditions, right? Whether it's a depression, the anxiety. I've talked with hundreds and hundreds of people about that, right? And it's a pattern. Those are other patterns we have in our society. A lot of it is tied to food. A lot of it is tied to consumption, what you do every day, what you expose yourself to, and what you consume every day. That's tied to that. So the reason why I'm talking about this, if you start introducing other little components in your life, it takes, so if the drinking, take your clock and look at the drinking. Take the 100% of the time that you take from your life to drink. Take 75% of that time and apply it to your fitness and your fastings and your cannabinoids and all that, and just give 25% to the alcohol. You know, let them stop being greedy. Give them 25% of your time, and the other 75% or the other 50%, or at least start with 25%, and start applying these things. If you want to change your life, if you feel that you're drinking too much, if you feel that your internal health is starting to show on your exterior. Jean-Guy Bourguignon. JPC, Jean-Guy Public Communicator 218. It's nice to be back. Wishing each and every one of you a most productive week ahead of you. Thank you. Merci. Gracias and grazie.